Welcome to the IELTS Step-by-Step YouTube channel. In these videos, we used the audio from a real IELTS test as a way to practice our listening skills. I'll be stopping the audio sometimes, replaying some parts, and we'll be looking at useful grammar and vocabulary, and important phrases too. If you want to practice this test under real exam conditions, then this book is available on the Amazon website or in English section parts of bookstores in most countries. For those of you who want to practice your listening skills, stay tuned because this will be really beneficial for you. Okay, so in this listening, we'll be listening to test number 1, the first part of test number 1, so just the easiest part, and we'll be going through any new vocabulary and any grammar that might come up as well. So this is not the normal way where we do real test practice where you've got a limited time. We are going to spend some time listening to this, maybe repeating ourselves, making sure that we completely understand the words that are being used in this text. Look out for the next two videos that will come up, which are part 2 and part 3 of this listening. This is book number 16, test number 1, and part number 1 of that test. Okay, so remember, you get some time, a little bit of time on the new format. You get a little bit of time at the beginning to listen for the instructions. But if you know the IELTS exam very well, then you don't need to spend time listening to it. You can dive right in to listening, at least, checking for the possible answers that might be coming up. So you don't need to listen too carefully here. I would spend my time making sure that I've read the instructions carefully and I've read the text carefully, the questions carefully. Okay, so let's get started.
This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read.
Okay, so you see this is when I would start while he's talking, time for you to read, giving instructions. This is when I would start looking at the possible questions. So let's have a look at how much time we would have to do it.
Read the instructions and questions and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to part 1.
Okay, so
Part 1. You will hear a man phoning to find.
Okay, so here we're going to be, he's going to be explaining what actually is going to be happening in this listening. This is when you need to listen carefully because it's going to set the context for what you're listening to. Is it going to be a radio show? Is it going to be a lecture? Is it going to be an advertisement? Okay, and this will help your brain get ready to hear what is going to be said. And it's very important to set your schemata or activate your schemata, which means set your world knowledge ready to hear what is about to be said. Okay, so listen carefully to what he says here.
Find out about some children's engineering workshops. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 3.
Okay, and you can see the first part, unlike in previous years, they would give you quite a lot to work through at the beginning of the exam, up to 1 to 10, they would often say. But in this new format, even though they don't do an example for you, which is what they used to do in the past, they give you only the first 3 or 4 to go through, which usually is good enough for your brain to get used to the speaker, their accent, the speed that they're working at or that they're speaking at. Okay, so we only need to look at questions 1 to 3. And we can see here that for question number 1, I've already started making marks on the page because I've had some time beforehand. And I've underlined things like an, because now I know I'm looking for a noun, a thing, right? A thing, and it's going to be it's going to be starting with a vowel. Vowel there instead of, it looks like it might be a verb. So it's going to be A-E-I-O-U, this thing that we're listening for. And we can take some guesses in our mind, create a cover for so a cover, right? Something that it's going to be, well, covering it with the noun that starts with a vowel, A-E-I-O-U, because an over there. And then I'm looking out for important words or phrases that come up in that little section, so the word here, so that they can drop it from a height without breaking it. So they might be mentioning other things that they're dropping, but this one is a special one because this one is breakable. So so that's why I've put an underline under the word break, because this thing, it's not a ball, it's something that can break. Okay. In part 2 as well, to build the tallest, now you can start taking guesses. Again, this is going to be a noun because of the tallest, and now you can start thinking about tower. What else could it be? Lego tower. I mean, that's the first thing that's coming to my head. We don't want to spend too much time on this because we've only got a limited time. Okay, and number 3, make us something powered by a balloon. Okay, now again, this is activating your world knowledge. You have to think back to when you were a child. A balloon squashes out air, so it's going to push something. As the balloon gets smaller, it expels, it pushes out like a jet of air. So I can imagine it's going to be a toy car, maybe a train, something that's got wheels. Okay, and I'm just putting things here to help me get used to it. Now, obviously, you're doing this much faster in the real exam. Let's have a look at how quickly you have to work. Okay, and you can see the little line there. So that looks like it's only about 15 or 20 seconds before they start.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 3.
Hello, Children's Engineering Workshops.
Oh, hello. I wanted some information about the workshops in the school holidays.
Okay, and by the way, part 1 of the test, the listening test, tends to be telephone conversations. So we didn't quite hear that at the beginning because I stopped it halfway through, but it should be a telephone call. They would have mentioned a telephone call. So that's very common in the part 1. Conversation between one person and another person. So it's quite easy, just 2 people talking.
Sure.
I have 2 daughters who are interested. The younger one's Lydia. She's 4. Do you take children as young as that?
Yes, our tiny engineers workshop is for 4 to 5-year-olds.
What sorts of activities do they do?
All sorts. For example, they work together to design a special cover that goes round an egg, so that when it's inside, they can drop it from a height and it doesn't break. Well, sometimes it does break, but that's part of the fun.
Right. And Lydia loves building things. Is there any opportunity for her to do that?
Well, they have a competition to see who can make the highest tower. You'd be amazed how high they can go.
Right.
But they're learning all the time as well as having fun. For example, one thing they do is to design and build a car that's attached to a balloon, and the force of the air in that actually powers the car and makes it move along. They go really fast too.
Okay, well, all this sounds perfect.
Okay, so we could guess the first parts of these. Tower, I could guess because tallest, and a toy car. We obviously don't have toy, but make a car powered by a balloon. And the first 2, 3, or 4 questions of the IELTS listening is supposed to be relatively easy for you if you are at intermediate level. If you are less than intermediate level, even this might be troublesome for you. Okay, now let's carry on.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 4 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 4 to 10.
Okay, so I had to be quite quick here. I didn't have time this time to write in my own words or ideas. But before we carry on, because this is a practice, we're going to be looking at the possible things we could put here instead of rushing straight in, because it's not a real exam just yet. Okay, so these are the junior engineers, and they range from 6 to 8. Okay, so the next level up. And these are the activities for them in this workshop. So they build model cars, trucks, and something, and learn how to program. So I probably should have also underlined this word and, because that's one thing. And this is another thing here. Okay, and I've underlined program because I didn't notice and. I was rushing a bit. Okay. So they build these things, they build that, they build trucks, and they build something else. So we're listening for something that they built. And on top of that, they learn how to program them, the things that they have built, so that they can move. And we can imagine, is it cars, trucks, and trains? Okay, as I said, we wouldn't have time to do this in the real exam, but listen, this is a lesson. Okay, so what do you think? Possibly trains. And the second one, take part in a competition to build the longest something using card and wood. Now I can take a guess because I did this when I was a kid. Again, I'm activating my world knowledge, activating my schemata. And this is often a bridge because you use paper and wood to make a long bridge. Again, this is engineers, right? So that's exactly what real engineers do, except on a much larger scale. And number 3, create a short something with special software. Now what should it be? We can think of it being program. So they create a short program, but the word short and program is not a very strong collocation. So I would probably not expect that to come up. But it's certainly something that no, I can't really think now. I'm thinking of program, but the word short makes it unlikely. It'll come to this one here. Then they build, and it's going to be another verb because that's a verb there. That's a verb there, to program something. So that's going to be a verb as well. And we've got the word robot. Okay. And the cost for this is £50. So when we hear the word £50, we need to have our ears listening more carefully to hear on. So it's going to be a weekday. Okay. Or British people say at the weekend, but Australians, this lady is, both of them are British. This lady is from the north of England, so she's going to say at the weekend. So this must be just weekday, one of the weekdays. On weekdays, maybe, or on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, or something like that. You'll need to fill in there. And then the location. Now we need to listen. This is a very common thing that they do. They check your spelling, your ability to listen for individual sounds, A, B, F, J, individual letters, sorry, and then you'll fill it in there because it'll be most likely it'll be not an English word, or it'll be an English surname or an English place name that you've never heard before. So you need to listen for your spelling here. And then there's plenty of, so you need to know what collocates with plenty of. Plenty of water is available, plenty of food is available, plenty of parking spaces, and then it says are available. So parking spaces are available, or plenty of parking is available. Something like that. Okay, then let's listen for the rest here.
Now, Carly, that's my older daughter, has just had her 7th birthday. So presumably she'd be in a different group.
Yes, she'd be in the junior engineers. That's for children from 6 to 8.
And do they do the same sorts of activities?
Some are the same, but a bit more advanced. So they work out how to build model vehicles, things like cars and trucks, but also how to construct animals using the same sorts of material and technique. And then they learn how they can program them and make them move.
So they learn a bit of coding.
They do. They pick it up really quickly. We're there to help if they need it, but they learn from one another too.
Right. And do they have competitions too?
Yes. With the junior engineers, it's to use recycled materials like card and wood to build a bridge. And the longest one gets a prize.
That sounds fun. I wouldn't mind doing that myself.
Then they have something a bit different, which is to think up an idea for a 5-minute movie and then film it using special animation software. You'd be amazed what they come up with.
And of course, that's
What they come up with. It's a nice phrase to look out for. What you'll be amazed at what they come up with. So what they create in their mind and then create in real life. So you'll be amazed at, to be amazed at what they come up with.
something they can put on their phone and take home to show all their friends.
Exactly. And then they also build a robot in the shape of a human, and they decorate it and program it so that it can move its arms and legs.
Perfect. So, is it the same price as the tiny engineers?
It's just a bit more, £50 for the 5 weeks.
And are the classes on a Monday too?
There used to be, but we found it didn't give our staff enough time to clear up after the first workshop, so we moved them to Wednesdays. The classes are held in the morning from 10 to 11.
Okay, that's better for me actually. And what about the location? Where exactly are the workshops held?
They're in Building 10A. There's a big sign on the door. You can't miss it. And that's in Fradston Industrial Estate.
Sorry?
Fradston. That's F-R-A-D-S-T-O-N-E.
And that's in Grassford, isn't it?
Yes, up past the station.
And will I have any parking problems there?
No, there's always plenty available. So, would you like to enroll Lydia and Carly now?
Okay.
So, can I have your full name?
That is the end of part 1. You now...
Okay, that's the end of part 1. So this is just a taster. The idea being that it should be easy for, as I said, for people who are at intermediate level to get into the rhythm of the exam. And you've already managed to get 10 points out of your 30, out of your 40. So that's pretty good, right? And obviously, as it goes, it gets a bit more tricky. So I hope that's useful for you. And all the words that came up in this video, I hope were also useful for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please tick it. Please subscribe as well. Thank you very much. I hope you liked this video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Be sure to check out all these other videos in this series to help you to improve your listening skills even further.